evening, guys. 14th of May, on the top of my head, 8 o'clock. We're doing a webinar on how to gain self-love. Welcome, everybody. We're on Zoom tonight. We're on YouTube tonight. We're on Facebook tonight. Let's see. We are on Instagram tonight. My name is Erik. You can probably tell by my accent. I'm not very Irish. I'm neither English. Born and raised in Holland, the Netherlands. I saw a few German names, so for guys from Germany, very welcome. Ich bin sehr nah an der Grenze aufgewachsen, so I do have some German in me, and like the language, it's quite fluent actually. Been in Ireland for about 2 years. One of my passions is basically to pass on information, helpful information, and that's what we're going to do tonight. So let's see who we have. We have Alexandra. Welcome, Jacob. Welcome, Connolly. Good to see you. Jer Hamel. Nice to have you. Habit. Herzlich willkommen. Then we have Janice, Kyle. Good to see you again. Manuel. Let's see who else. Michael Sheridan. Good to have you again, Michael. Lovely to see you. Suzanne, Therese. Okay, and some more people entering in. Yeah, so like I said, we're on different platforms tonight. The webinar is also being recorded on YouTube, so that later on you can actually watch it back if you want to. Now, you can understand, I have my computer here. I cannot really see you guys, although I see two people in the picture. That is really great. Thank you for turning on the cameras. That's fantastic. It's always nice to see some faces. Of course, I don't see everybody, so it's a bit nice to do a little bit of acquaintancing. Maybe you want to let me know where you're from and why you are joining this particular webinar tonight. Maybe you want to pop it in a chat, share it with each other, or share it with me. But I'm always happy to make new friends, find out where you're from and why in particular this webinar is something you wanted to attend. Maybe you want to let me know. I'll be happy to hear. Actually, I do have a lot of questions for you tonight, and these questions are all aimed to make the whole subject more insightful. Good. Manuel, Bums, hello. Thank you. Alexandra, hello. Guys, any reason why you are joining this webinar would be good to know. Any reason why you're joining in tonight? Maybe you're like, well, you know, I'm running into this thing, this situation frequently in life. I'm dealing with a certain condition. I don't like it. I want to have it resolved, or whatever it is. Feel free to express yourself. Feel free to pop something in the chat. The whole idea about tonight's seminar is that I basically want to share the data with you on why we have a lack of self-love in the first place. And then next to that, I'm going to show you the solution to actually make some improvements. Okay, good. So now you can imagine anything that happens to you in life, any condition that you're in, any situation that you're in, any emotion that you have, anything that's triggered, and the list can go on and on and on. It always comes back to the mind. So first of all, you know, what makes us tick? Why do we behave the way we behave? You know, why is somebody else's behavior perhaps noteworthy or a bit strange, or, you know, all these things again and again and again have to do with the mind. The mind is king. The mind actually controls, monitors, regulates the body, the system, the thoughts, what have you. So in order to know anything about ourselves, why we behave in certain ways, why we have fears, why we have uncertainties, why we have self-doubt, all that starts with the mind. So my first question to you guys is, do you think that anybody on planet Earth actually knows what the mind is and how it works? Let me know in the chat, a yes or a no. It can be just very, very simple. Do you actually think that anybody knows what the mind is and how it works? Okay, Herbert, no. Mary, no. Suzanne, no. All right. Manuel, yes, you can bump it on YouTube later. Okay, thank you. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to stick to that as a matter of fact. Okay, good. So I think we can agree on this thing here that nobody knows what the mind is, how it works. Now, this will lead to very peculiar situations. Just imagine your car breaks down and you're going to bring it to a garage. You talk to a mechanic and he looks at it a bit puzzled and he tells you, well, sir, this is an intricate problem. It may take half a lifetime to solve this. But you know what? Why don't you come back in 4 years and maybe, just maybe, we'll have it fixed. And of course, you wouldn't settle for that, right? You wouldn't settle for 4 years. You wouldn't settle for 4 months. You wouldn't even settle for 4 weeks. Maybe, just maybe, you would say, okay, I'm going to give this garage 4 days to fix it, right? More or less. All right, and we expect that in that field of technical expertise. We kind of expect that because we know that guy actually knows what he's doing, or we suppose that he knows what he's doing and he can actually fix the car. Now, you apply that same idea into the humanities and you say, well, you go and see, let's say, a quote-unquote expert in the field of the mind, and you say, well, sir or ma'am, I've got this problem. I got a tremendous amount of self-doubt. You know, every time I make mistakes, I make the wrong decisions, and it's not benefiting at all. As a matter of fact, I'm quite depressed. The whole thing looks kind of hopeless. I need some help. So now, this seems pretty much an analogy to a broken engine, right? And you would not like to have that situation fixed in 4 years. As a matter of fact, you would actually, if that condition is quite urgent, you want to have that fixed as soon as possible. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to actually have a look at precisely what the mind is. And I'm going to present to you this book. It's called Dianetics. It's the #1 bestseller on the planet, and it's called Dianetics: The Modern Science of Mental Health. Now, dia actually comes from Greek, which means through. Netics is from nous, that means mind. In other words, through mind, or what your mind is doing to you, your thoughts, and your body. And it's also called the modern science. Now, science, of course, refers to knowing. And when you know something precisely, that would actually result in something that one can do. One can actually get results. And with Dianetics, one can actually get very, very positive results. The book will tell you quite exactly what the mind is, how it works, and it's a book that can be obtained in more than 50 languages. You can get it in German, for example. You can get it in Brazilian, in Portuguese, and in Chinese, simplified Chinese, even Zulu. It goes into all languages. Sold more than 22 million copies and has sparked a big international movement. So I'm going to take you through some concepts of the book. So the first drill that we're going to do is we're going to do a little memorizing drill. what I would like you to do is just get a memory back of primary school. Maybe you can remember primary school. Maybe you can remember one of the classrooms. Maybe you can actually memorize one of the teachers again. Maybe you can see the corridor in primary school that would lead to the different classes. You might be able to see the, let's say, the external, the outside of the building. You might see the colors, its height, its footprint. You might even see, let's say, the courtyard, the playground, the entrance, the exit. Now, my first question here to all of you guys is, who actually got a picture when I asked for think about primary school? Who of you guys actually got a picture? Okay, Kyle, yes. Suzanne, yes. Now I have to be very, very careful because I see an Irish name. I'm inclined to say Niam, but I know that's not I know that's not the correct pronunciation. Anyway, Neve, thank you. That's great. Yeah. So yes. Okay, good. So all right, everybody got a picture. Now let's make a sketch of what we're just seeing. Let me have a quick look here. Okay, so let's say this is your body. And we're looking at a picture. And this we call a mental image. So you're looking at these pictures of primary school, and we call these pictures mental image pictures. Now, they're called mental for a very good reason, because they're not physical. These are not physical pictures. These are not tangible. It's a bit like a photo. However, it's not something that is stored on paper or plastic or in chemicals, obviously, right? So for that reason, it's called a mental image. Now let's have a little bit. Let's take a little bit of a deeper look into that picture. See how it works. And so the next drill, I'm going to ask you to imagine to be in your favorite chair in the room, in the house where you grew up. So let's say you go back to your parents' place. Now imagine that you're in your favorite chair again in the living room. If you can do that. You can probably see a room around you. So what I would like you to do is, from where you're sitting, for yourself, indicate where the TV was. You say, okay, well, the TV is right there. You can actually point at it. In my case, if I actually recall the living room where I grew up, the house where I grew up, I had my chair here, I would say, oh, well, the TV's over there, like 3-4 meters away from me. Okay, now let's find a table. Find a table in the room. And you might say, okay, well, now run right in front of me. Very good. Now let's find a window. Any window. And you might say, okay, well, I got a window over there. Or I got a window over there. Right? Finally, let's find the kitchen. And I would have the kitchen behind me from where I was sitting. Now we're doing something very, very interesting here, because what you can see instantly is that that picture happens to be three-dimensional. You're actually pointing about you, and you see all these pictures, or you see all these objects appearing around you, right? And that is your mind. Your mind makes these kind of pictures all the time. Now, it's a funny thing, as these objects kind of like appear about you, you would not say that these pictures are actually in your brain. You wouldn't say, well, the TV is right there behind my skull. The window is next to my temple. The kitchen is in the back of my head. The table is somewhere in the middle of my head. You wouldn't do that, right? So that is that now it becomes a riddle. If that picture is not in the brain, then where is it? Now this is a fascinating thing. If you inspect the room again, and let's say we take a look at the TV, and we get an image of the TV, we can see its dimensions, we can see its depth, we can see what it's standing on or sitting on. We can have a look at the curtains, and we can know what kind of texture and what kind of feel it has, its sizes. And we could just basically inspect every part of the room, and we get an infinite amount of data. We get an infinite amount of data, right? Well, what is it stored in? It's stored in nothing. So here we get infinity and nothing coming together. We're getting very close to the world of quantum physics. And that's exactly what the author and the researcher had studied and what he needed to basically unriddle this whole mystery about the mind. So now your mind makes pictures. And it would basically be something like this. At its earliest stage, you have started making these pictures. And you have tons and tons of these pictures. Now that would be your mind. Okay, so how do you use that mind? Well, very simple. Let's say you come home, you drop your keys somewhere. And now you're going to go into room A, then room B, room C, you take a shower, you go into your garden, and at some point you realize you have to go. And then you put your hands in your pockets and say, oh, where's my keys? Then you realize you don't have your keys on you. Now, are you going to roam around the entire house to find your keys? No. What you're actually doing is you're going to recall. You're going to recall and get a picture again. And you get a picture of coming home, putting your keys somewhere on the table, a cupboard, or whatever. And now your mind will tell you where you actually put your keys. So your mind will give you the answer. Okay, so now here we have a mind. So now my next question to you guys is, who or what is looking at those pictures? Who, please pop it in the chat, who or what is looking at those pictures? If you want to share that with me. You can let Dario in, by the way. Suzanne, self, okay, ourselves. Thank you, Alexandra. Our conscious mind, ourselves, okay. Very good. All right, so you would actually say, if I interpret your answers correctly, you are the one who is looking at these pictures. If you mean ourselves by simply you, right? Now, here's the next question. Do you consider yourself a body, or do you consider yourself something more than a body? So do you think you are a body, or are you something else, something more than a body? Kyle, thank you very much. That is that's quite an answer. What does the rest think, guys? What do you think? Do you think you are a body, or are you something else? Are you more than a body? All right, so we get more than. Well, let's have a look again. So now we could just say you are the one. You are the one that's looking at these pictures. Right now we have it a little bit defined. We could say a human being, a person, Homo sapiens in a fancy word, consists of three parts: his body, his mind, and himself. And you are not your brain. We can actually prove that. So what are you? In the book Dianetics, the author calls you a life force. Now, you are clearly intelligent. Like I just said in the example, you come home, you drop your keys somewhere, then 2 hours later you realize you don't have your keys. Well, you're very intelligent to actually discover again what you did with your keys. You have that inborn intelligence actually to get the right picture again and to have your mind assisting you in finding the answer. So you are definitely an intelligence. You could also say you are an awareness. So you are aware of sound, you're aware of smell, right? You're aware of tactile, which is maybe right now you're sitting on a chair and you feel the pressure of the chair under your legs and under your buttocks. You may find the pressure in the back of your back, right? So there's numerous perceptions that we will perceive. So you could definitely say you are aware of these things. So you are an awareness. You could also say, well, you are an energy. You're an energy because you're creating these pictures constantly and you're directing and controlling your body. So we could also call it that. Now, basically, it would suffice for the moment that we could say, well, you are a life force and you are endowed with a tremendous amount of potential. What we're going to look at tonight is how that potential actually gets affected so that you start to have less appreciation for yourself. Now, a question again, we just looked at primary school, we looked at the living room. A quick question, if you want to answer that in the chat. Did looking at these pictures cause any discomfort, nervousness, stress? I would like to know. So you just looked at some pictures, the picture of primary school, the pictures of the living room. Did that cause any discomfort or nervousness or stress? Neve, you said yes. Thank you. Jer, not really. Okay. Suzanne, yes. Thank you. We see more cameras on. Thank you, guys. That is fantastic. Hello. Okay. Not anymore regarding school. Thank you, Alexandra. All right, guys. Well, that's good. So, ideally, we can actually look at these pictures, and ideally, with the neutral pictures, the pictures that do not contain any pain, any upset, any losses, we normally wouldn't get any stress or any discomfort. But we're actually going to discuss that. And that's why I have my next question for you. Now, have you ever gone to an exam or perhaps a job interview, or you had to do a speech in public, and that made you feel stressful or nervous or uncomfortable. Has that ever happened to you? Has it ever happened to you that you went to an exam, a job interview, or had to do a talk in front of a group of people, and you felt uncomfortable with that, or nervous or stressed? Okay, yes, of course, yes, 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 okay, many times. All right, sure. Okay, so here's a key question. It is a key question. Did you want to be nervous or uncomfortable or stressed? So if you had it, did you also want it? Did you want to be nervous in that situation? Or did you want to be uncomfortable? Did you want to be stressed? No. All right. So we got something really funny here. Some funny mechanism. There is something there that controls us. There's some kind of a force, there that controls us, and we can't shake it. We don't control it back. So there's a sense of a negative control, right? Now, what does this actually do? What does this actually control? We're going to actually go into a bit deeper into the subject matter. But first of all, what does it control? Now, let me write that down. For example, it controls your body. How does it work? Let's say you have to do this job interview, or you have to do that speech in front of a group of people. Now, what happens? All of a sudden, that control kicks in, and you start having these butterflies in your tummy. All of a sudden, your legs, they start to feel a little weak, like spaghetti. You got a paper in your hand with some notes, and you can't keep it still. You're just shaky. And then you want to talk, and you got this dry throat. I mean, you can't get this because you had a lot to drink. You don't understand. Why would you have a dry throat all of a sudden? You see, there's something there that just takes over the entirety, you could say, of your body. Now, that is just one thing. It also controls your thoughts. So let's say you studied the whole thing. You're going to go to that job interview. You kind of like practiced what kind of questions you wanted to ask. You practiced what kind of answers you wanted to give. Or in case of a speech, you had all the bullet points in your head. So you want to go from A to J and tackle all these bullet points and, give your information. And then what happened? It seemed that part of your mind all of a sudden got blocked. It's like I wanted to avoid, so I don't remember anything of what I wanted to say, right? It seemed like it was completely blocked. In other words, that control kind of like blocked out your mind. So it controls your thoughts. It controls your memories. Now, what else does it control? It controls your purposes. What do I mean by that? Let's say today you decide tomorrow you're going to go and talk to your boss because you want to have a better job or you want to have a better salary, and you worked it all out in your mind. So that is just the solution. This is what I need to do. Now the next day, you're at your work and you see your boss and you get reminded of the decision that you took the day before, and you say, oh yeah, I actually wanted to talk to him. And you get up out of your chair and all of a sudden you feel that butterfly feeling And you get this idea, well, he's probably very, very busy right now. It's probably not a good time to see him. Let me do that next week. And you turn around and you go back to your seat. In other words, you had this idea that you were going to attain a certain goal or target or purpose, and you changed your mind on the purpose that you actually had in mind. So, we want to, of course, know where does that come from. Now, there's something that we could say, we could split up the mind in two parts. One we call analytical. So it does all the analytical thinking for you, like the example with the key. Or you go out into town, you park your car somewhere, you're going to do your shopping. You need to go back to the car. Your mind will tell you where to find your car because you have these pictures. Okay, so that we would call the analytical mind because it analyzes the data and it will actually provide you back with very, very accurate data so you can resolve it. There's another part of the mind that actually stores pain and loss and bad experiences. Let me get a different color. And let me give you an idea how that works. So, let me write that down. So here we have pain, loss, upsets, disagreements. You could say just bad experiences. All right. So, now, who's ever experienced a door shut on his finger? Who's ever experienced that? Maybe you want to share that with me in the chat. Kyle, yes, thank you. Neve, thank you. Amor, thank you. Suzanne, all right. Michael, a few times. Okay, thank you. Now, do you kind of like stay away from the area? Or like any similar situation? So let's say, like inadvertently, you're not really paying attention, and your hand kind of like, your fingers slip kind of like between the frame and the door, inadvertently. Now, what do? How are you going to react? That's the question. What would happen if you actually get close again and you put your fingers very close to the frame and its door opening, and you all of a sudden see that, oh gosh, you know, you actually have your fingers at a dangerous spot. Yeah. Something will happen, right? It is as if there's a pain there. That pain, that painful picture that has been stored. Now, if you actually go back to the area, that painful picture will just kind of like smack you in the face with a kind of like a sensation over your body, and you kind of like pull back your hand or your arm right away. Yeah. So it does that basically with a force. It doesn't think. It doesn't. There's no rationale behind it. You wouldn't go like, oh well, let me see. That's an interesting door opening. What is the widening here, and how much force could that door apply? You know, there's no rationale in there. You would just. It's like there's an instant action-reaction kind of thing. Good. Another question. Who's ever eaten tainted food? Who's ever eaten tainted food? Okay, yes. All right, yes. It's okay, this is an easy one. Now, shortly after, would you eat the same food again? Of course, this time fresh, not tainted. But let's say you ate tainted eggs or tainted tomatoes or tainted whatever. Have you ever had that idea like you shouldn't eat that again, that type of food or that drink? Yeah? Okay, good. Now let's do a final one. This is a bit of tricky question. So please don't get emotional. Just stay in the present. Yeah, but many of us have lost somebody who was dear to us, or that could have been a person. It could have been an animal. Um, like maybe your favorite pet, or person that was very dear to you, and all of a sudden you lost that pet or that person. So what happens if you think back of losing that pet or that person? If you think back of the loss, the moment of the loss, will the emotion come back to you? Do you feel the emotion coming up again? Kind of like you kind of like get overwhelmed with the sadness again? Does that happen? Okay. All right, now, thank you for the answers, guys. So yes, yes, yes. So you can see that there's something here. It does the whole thing on full automatic. You think about something that had upset you in the past, like somebody ripped you off or somebody lied to you. You think about that, there's charge on it, there's some painful force connected to that picture, and you can still get upset about it. Or you think about a loss and you can get emotional about it again. A good example is, for example, thinking back of a blood test. When you just stretch your arm, you're imagining feeling the needle, and you can just feel it again. All that stuff is recorded in the mind. It's funny. You ask a person to do that, some people get an instant sting, and they just feel it again as if it's happening right now. So that is all stored. Now the key question here is that if these are negative experiences, then do we really want to be subjected to these forces every time? Because they control the body, they control the thoughts, they control our purposes. Is this something, this mechanism, I'm asking you, is that a mechanism that you really want to have? That doesn't think, that just reacts, that just throws things at you. Is that a mechanism that you want to have? Okay, Kyle, thank you so much. I can see that you've been doing a little bit of reading. And of course, you've been here before. Yeah, so that's the reactive mind. Anybody else? Yeah, who think it's a good thing to have something that doesn't think, that just reacts and just throws things at you, right? It controls your body, makes you nervous, makes you shaky, makes you transpire, makes you uncertain about yourself. It controls your mind. You can't think logically. It turns around your purposes, makes you fail. Is that something you want to have? Okay, yeah. So we want to have better control. All right, now, so what does that have to do with self-love? Well, obviously, there's something there that kind of like sabotages you. It sabotages your actions. It sabotages your thoughts. You want to be positive and you think negative. It's not something you want. Actually, it comes from that part of your mind. Now, you probably experienced doing something, doing some action, and then regret it later on. Now, I mean, this is planet Earth, right? Nobody is an angel. We got wars, we got famine, we got, I don't know, economic duress, we got, crimes. Quite frankly, this is not a planet of angels, right? Everybody's got that funny mechanism that makes us do strange stuff. So I'm going to get that again. Now, we probably experienced doing something and then you regret it later on. For example, let's say you told a lie. Who hasn't done that? Well, everybody's lied, right? Or maybe you stole something. Maybe you stole some money from your parents. Or maybe you slept with a person, but you were not even in love with that person. You just slept with that person. Or maybe you did some gambling or doing drugs, or maybe you didn't keep your promise. Now, so another question for you guys. Have you ever been dishonest? That's a question. Have you ever been dishonest? I guess everybody has, right? Yeah. Okay, so we've all been. Okay, now here's the key. Here's the trick. Did you want to be dishonest? Did you really, genuinely want to be dishonest? Okay, so we didn't want that, right? All right, so there must have been something there that put that impulse there to change our thoughts, and then gave us the idea that we couldn't solve it in an honest way. We couldn't do something honestly. We had to be dishonest about it. Okay, now, obviously, if you're doing something dishonest, that is going to be very, very bad for your own survival. Let me give you another example. Have you ever experienced doing something that you should not have done? Did you ever do something that you should not have done? And I'm just going into another example of being dishonest. Just think of another example of having done something that you shouldn't have done. A couple of times, yeah? Okay, good. So now, what do we get as a result? Here, we start to build up some bad experience, which is about a disagreement that we have with ourselves. We're actually doing something that we don't want to do. Now, so that is like a negative, right? You did something that you didn't want. Now let's turn it around and think about something that you didn't do, but you really wanted to. So let's say you really wanted to have that job, but then something held you back. You say, well, I couldn't possibly do that. I couldn't possibly be that. So now think of something that you really did want, or you really did want to do it, but now something held you back, and as a result, you didn't do it. Has that ever occurred to you? For example, when I was a younger kid, like a teenager, I would go out to a disco, right? And you would see these beautiful girls. And you go like, oh my God, she looks so good. I would love to talk to her. That's something you really wanted to do, right? But then Now, I didn't have the confidence to actually just step up, walk over, say hi, introduce myself. So I held back. There's numerous examples you can give. Yeah, you can take a person who's can be like an excellent salesperson, and maybe he's finding customers, but he has this idea he can never ask for the order. Or somebody has the idea he would really love to talk to other people, but he says I can't because every time I get shy. Yeah. So can you think with something that you really want to do, but then every time you have the feeling something is holding you back, and you feel you can do it? Yeah? Okay, so that is pretty clear, right? So either way, in both cases, you're kind of effed if you allow me to say that. You want to do something, you want to do something for yourself, something positive, and here is some bad experiences. They apply force to you, and it now controls you, and you have the sensation that you can't do it. The worst part is taking control of you. And likewise, there's something that you do sometimes, but then you regret it later on. And now you can't stop yourself. You have to do it again. And you regret it later on. And there you have these compulsions. And so the book tells you exactly where that is from. Now, we're going to call this the reactive mind. I hope there's, well, let me clean up some space. So you have an analytical mind and you have a reactive mind. The reactive mind is the culprit. It is the only source of all your troubles, your nightmares, your self-doubt, your inability to be yourself, your inability to do things, your inability to have the things you really want to have in life. The reactive mind will always step in, control your body, your thoughts, your purposes, and it does that without any thinking. Now, what you do with Dianetics is basically you discharge that part of the mind, and as a result, a person becomes more aware. His IQ will go up. He starts to be able to do things that he couldn't do before, so he has new abilities, and the results are lasting. All right, now, the bottom line here is that when you feel impulsed to do the things you don't want to do, and you regret it, or when you feel impulsed to do things that are actually harmful, then what you get is failures. And all these failures actually stack up and become part of your reactive mind. So, if you try and you go through life and you don't really know that you have a reactive mind and it's working full force against you, and you start to build up failures, actually that reactive mind is going to be more and more charged. Okay, so now from these failures, you can actually, that can make you feel kind of hopeless. If there's stuff there, okay, I don't want to do this, but I do want to do that, and you can't do both. It can make you feel hopeless. You can start to suffer. You can become desperate, and your life force seems to be like on a dwindling spiral. Now I want to see if I can make some space for an extra sketch. If a person doesn't have that mechanism, that reactive mind, then in general he's quite happy. He can see something that he wants to achieve in life. He can dream up goals, and he wouldn't automatically see bears on the road. He wouldn't see automatically obstacles, barriers on the road. These barriers are only in your mind. They're not really there. Those barriers are just in the mind. So if that reactive mind is no longer operative, then a person can be said to be quite happy. Because instead of seeing obstacles, he sees challenges. He sees games. He said, well, you know, I got to find some new customers. All right, well, it's going to be delightful to find new people. It's going to be delightful to talk to new people. And it's a nice game to play. And if he would still have some portion of it, but it's become less powerful over him, he would still be contented. Now, when the reactive mind starts to kick in a little bit more, and the person doesn't really see immediate goals, he gets kind of bored. Now, when he starts to have failures, he might become critical. He might become critical with himself. He might find himself no good. He might become critical with other people. He might become critical with the environment, because something here is to blame. And if you don't know what to blame, then you simply blame. So now you might become a bit hostile. And when you get some more failures, you might actually become afraid that that you can't really handle it. That it might actually get worse if you don't control it. So now we're going to fear. And when these things just simply keep mounting up, and we start to accumulate losses and painful incidents, then we might actually go into sadness, into grief. And if the whole thing has become such a burden that you get the feeling that nothing could be done about it, nothing could be done about it to improve that, you could be said you simply give up. You simply give up because you don't have the tools, you don't have any idea how to fix it. Maybe you've tried this therapy, that therapy, you've tried whatever, but nothing really improved it. And now we're in a state of hopelessness. Basically, what we have here is an emotional scale. So if we go back to you being a life force, you have a tremendous amount of potential. Maybe you've ever had that idea that you could be more, you could do more, you could achieve more in life. Who has ever had the idea that you could be more, that you could do more, that you could achieve more, that somehow you had more potential in you? Who's ever had that feeling? Maybe you want to share that with me in the chat. Who's ever had the feeling that you could be more, you could do more, you could achieve more, you somehow had more potential? Very good. Alexandra, me, Neve, me. Suzanne, yes, I have. Michael, yes. Amor, sometimes. Good. All right. Guys, I'm going to tell you the truth. The truth is you are an absolute powerhouse. I'm not just saying that to flatter you. It's the truth. You have a tremendous amount of potential. And so Mr. Hubbard in the book actually tells you that you have a tremendous amount of life force. But you have so much force that you can actually use all that force against yourself. Based upon the experiences that you have accumulated in terms of painful moments, losses, upsets, disagreements, and so on. And you should be happy. That's what you deserve, right? But throughout time, you started to accumulate more bad experiences. And from happy, you went to being content. You went to perhaps being bored. Then you might have become critical with yourself. You didn't like yourself anymore. You were in disagreement with yourself. You didn't love yourself anymore. Now, as a result, you didn't like other people as much as you would do before. You might actually become afraid. I can tell you, when you procrastinate, that's where you are, because you're actually postponing things out of fear. There's not much, there's not enough life force there, because it's been consumed by your reactive mind that makes you now afraid and gives you all kinds of negative thoughts. So, if you would be somewhere lower, you think back of some painful memory and you instantly go into grief. Or maybe your line of thinking with regards to some things in life you have already ruled out. So, well, I will never be like that. I could never do that. And your frame of mind is one of being hopeless about it. Now, we're just looking at it. And that whole scale is actually explained in the book. It tells you where you are at the moment and how you can actually get back up. But the main thing is that, what if you're down here? What if you're down here? How does that affect you in your life? Maybe you want to share that with me. Yeah. So having that lack of self-love, how does it affect you? Maybe you want to share. Okay, Kyle, you become suppressive. Okay. Neve, exhausting. Thank you. Thank you, Kyle, as well. Okay, you may start to feel numb. Numbness is here in this area. All right. Thank you, Suzanne. Anybody else? Yeah. How is that affecting you? Lonely place to be. All right. Thank you very much. Okay, now let's make matters a little bit worse. Let's make matters a little bit worse. Let's say you keep on going through life. You keep on having upsets. You keep on having disagreements. You keep on having losses. And you keep on having frustrations, lack of self-love. It just keeps accumulating. What does the future look like if that doesn't get handled? So what does the future look like if that just keeps on going and the person just keeps in that area? What does the future look like? Yeah, exactly. That's going to be quite hopeless. Yeah, very, very unhappy. Okay, guys, I think you got the picture. Now, for the first time for the very first time in human history, this riddle about the reactive mind, what it consists of, how you can actually clean it up. How that could be done quite fast. How you can actually improve a person's IQ. How you could actually improve a person's confidence. How can you better a person's abilities? And with the return of all that, you would of course get self-love, right? A person can be gradually moved up to those levels. It's quite amazing what you could actually do with that book. Like I said, it's an international bestseller. It sold more than 20 million copies worldwide. Is available in over 50 languages, even Farsi, Zulu, you name them. You got all these languages. And it is actually a book for people who do want improvement. It's not another self-help book. It's not like, oh, well, you have to think positive and you'll make it. You can go into the library and find a whole library full of those books. Just think positive, motivational books. They might be very good, but they will not give you the tools to get rid of that stimulus response type of mechanism that constantly holds you back the moment you want to do something good, or that constantly pushes you to do something that you later on regret. So for the first time in history, that has been fully discovered, what its anatomy is and how to fix that. That means you're actually going to be in control. Now, some people will ask, oh, but that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing because you would no longer be human. Well, let's say you really want to be human, and let's say you can decide whether or not you want to be insecure or nervous. Let's say you have the power of choice. Let's say you can simply say, well, now I'm going to be nervous, and now I'm not going to be nervous. Now, that's quite a jump ahead, isn't it? So now we're always ending off with some kind of a special for you guys. Like I said, I'm strongly recommending that book, but it's only for people who really want to change. It's a book that has a glossary in the back, so you can find all the hard-to-find words. The first book is all about, it's actually split up in different books. You have a book about survival, a book about the mind, a book about the method or the therapy. And what we're doing tonight is just giving you a scale here of vitality, of life force, expressed in emotions. And there's a very, very nice booklet, which is called the Emotional Tone Scale, that gives you in pictures all these emotional tones with a prediction of behavior. So you can actually predict if somebody speaks the truth, somebody can be trusted, how he will be as a partner, and so on. So what we have to have for you tonight is both Dianetics and the Emotional Tone Scale for 20 euros, including shipping. And the link for that is coming up. I'm going to let you guys have a look at it while I'm just going to have another sip of water. Okay, so it's 5 minutes past 9. The promotional offer that we have here is up on promotion for tonight. So normally what we do is we keep the promotion up till 9:30. That is another roughly half hour, and after that it goes back to its normal price. Now, we made it a bit of a habit to stay around after the webinar ends. Is there anybody who actually wants to ask a question? Any questions, guys? I have to say, ladies, I'm very happy with you guys, Suzanne, Jer, to see you on the camera. That is very nice. Actually, you see that some more people have joined in. Cool. See some new names. Janice, I think you were here last time. Let's see who else joined. Pedro, I think we've seen each other already before. Welcome. It's good to see you again. Galia Lekova, I guess you're here for the first time. I hope you enjoyed it. Alexandra, hope you enjoyed it. It's good. Okay, guys. Well, I guess no questions then, right? I hope it was a bit clear. The fun fact is always that maybe after a webinar, you may realize that there is something to learn about the mind. And it isn't a hard subject at all. Actually, once you've seen something about it, once you read something about it, it becomes quite easy to understand even. And what I gave you tonight was just a snippet from the book. The book is just packed, loaded with data. It's fascinating. I've read it 3 times myself. I still feel the urge to read it again, and I'm probably going to do it again sometime soon. You could take literally 1 page out of a book and just dedicate a whole seminar to it. It's that packed. And the beauty is that if you look at other subjects that you can learn in college or university, and you compare that with this book, I've had many talks with psychologists, for example. You ask them how the mind works, they don't have a clue. You read the book, and you'll flabbergast everybody because you're going to get that stuff. You're going to understand that stuff just down cold. Reading the book will give you realizations. These realizations will already eliminate some doubts, some puzzles, some question marks that you have. Why am I like this? Why do I do it like that? Why does this keep happening to me? And once you actually start to understand more about the mind, you start to understand why these things happen to you, why you have those feelings, why you have these emotions, why you have these reactions. And that in itself, the understanding can already produce quite some change and a tremendous relief in an individual. So for me personally, it's been a lifesaver. I would never be here doing webinars, just never ever, if it wasn't for that book. That wouldn't have been possible. Okay, guys, so no questions, I guess. Well, guys, great. We're doing another webinar on Friday. Out of the top of my head, I have no clue what the title is. Maybe Dita, you want to do me a favor? Last thing I want to share with you guys is my telephone number. Dita, my colleague, is going to punch in my WhatsApp number. If you want to come back to me after the webinar and you have a more personal question that maybe you don't want to bring up in the webinar, which I understand, feel free to text me. I'll be very happy to help you or answer your questions, and we'll take it from there. So having said that, maybe we see each other again on Friday, maybe next week. And for now, we're going to end out. Thank you so much. It's been great having you here. You've been a wonderful audience. I love the participation. It makes things so much easier. So great. Also great for the ladies who had the cameras on. Been very happy to have you guys tonight. I hope it was insightful. I hope you got something out of it. I hope to see you again as well. So have a great rest of your evening, and see you next time.